Hello, everyone! Thank you so much for returning with us as we return to Spilled Popcorn. That's right, we are back with the latest and greatest in the streaming MCU verse.
Yes.
We're talking about Hawkeye. There's your co-host, Cam Wiggs. How you doing, Cam?
Doing great. I'm doing fantastic. You know why? Because Spilled Popcorn is back, and it's, as the kids say, it's been a minute, Kirk. It's been a minute. I don't think kids actually say that. I think they said that when I was young. So
when we were kids, we said it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Now the kids say no cap on God. They
sheesh. You know, this is
yes.
There's lots of sheeshing.
Yes, us having this very conversation makes us chuggy.
Chuggy.
Yes,
that's right. Good, Kirk. You're learning.
Yes, because I am chuggy. I'm not proud, but I am chuggy.
Hello, fellow kids.
How do you do, fellow kids?
It is us, the cool adults
That's
in their 30s. This is something special because we are chatting about Hawkeye today. That's
Yes.
right. We have discussed WandaVision. We've discussed Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We've discussed Loki, What If, and now, finally, Hawkeye is here. Cam, let me ask you, did you ever think, that Hawkeye would have its own television series?
No, I didn't, but I'm glad that we're here. I'm glad that it does. And as you were listing that off, I just had the revelation that we've had this is our 5th MCU series this calendar year. Hashtag blessed MCU fans, you know, like we got four movies this year and 5 shows. Like, come on now. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was talking to my old mentor, Mr. Rogers, who listens to this podcast. Shout out, Mr. Rogers.
Shout out.
And he was talking to me about how he thinks his year has been so busy that he's like, I think I'm 2 Marvel movies behind. And I'm like, 2 Marvel movies behind? Wow.
Yeah.
Because there's been so much. So, man, stay up, stay awake, stay woke, everyone, because there is so much. Can we just always have that little snippet?
That little childish Gambino. Yeah, we can make that happen. That can be a reality.
So you gotta stay on this because it is nuts. I mean, we feel for you. It's been a very busy year for everyone, but hashtag blessed for all the content out there because it is wild coming left and right.
Yes.
So let's talk about Hawkeye. Episode 1 and 2 is now available. Episode 3 is also available. We're going to chat about that on the next episode of Spilled Popcorn. So this is your introductory snippet into the series. If you're just a smidge behind, we're going to talk about everything that was wonderful in this episode and the first 2 episodes, the butter. Let's start with our leading man, Jeremy Renner, Mr. Hawkeye himself. I mean, when you look at this transplant of this character from the MCU, starting in Thor, of all places, he shows up in Thor and he's ready to just dome our leading man, Chris Hemsworth.
Skulls.
As he's going in for that hammer. And then you get to one of the most influential moments where he's telling Wanda, you go out there, you're an Avenger in the Avengers Age of Ultron. To this, I mean, he has had such arguably one of the biggest character arcs. He is one of the original Avengers, but he wasn't one of the leading 4 dudes, right? And here he is, front and center in his own show. How are you feeling about Jeremy Renner in this kind of a little bit jaded role right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for 1,000 reasons. First of all, because I think it's safe to say that through the movies, Hawkeye is almost no one's favorite Avenger. You know, he just doesn't really get the time of day. He's been desperately needing a chance to flesh out more of these details, but this is the perfect opportunity for it. I mean, the fact of the matter is that Jeremy Renner is a stellar actor, and as I watch more of his filmography, I just find myself falling more and more in love with the work that he can do in building a character. And this is a perfect opportunity for him to just take 6 hours to flesh out more of Clint Barton and Clint Barton is an incredibly important character to the MCU because he is, without doubt, the most grounded character in all of the MCU, the most relatable. He's got a family. We know them, like he has a hearing aid, which we got to explore in these first 2 episodes.
Just because I need you.
Oh, what happened?
Too hard to tell.
So he's living a very normal life with normal problems, and also, he doesn't have superpowers. He's the best archer in the world, but he doesn't have superpowers. He doesn't have a super suit. So I think him and Scott Lang are really the most accessible heroes that we have as fans, and that's so necessary when you've got stuff on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. And as the MCU goes farther and farther into this interstellar direction that they're heading, characters like this that are just super grounded, very old school superheroes are going to be incredibly, incredibly valuable and important to the storytelling. And so I think this show is a great opportunity to do that. And I think Jeremy Renner is absolutely the right person to bring it home.
There's 3 things that you sparked my memory on. Hopefully I can remember all 3 things. He's a real person and he is jumping on aliens in New York City, right? In the
With
Avengers.
reckless abandon.
Just like off of skyscrapers and just like shooting them and getting just blown up and like trusting that someone will catch him at some point. So that's one of them. The second one is that, oh goodness, I think I've already lost it. His just, self-reflection on how everything is playing out, right? So in episode 2, I believe we have him approach the LARPing scene, which is
it's a great moment.
And the LARPing community, you got to give them so much respect because their commitment to what they do is quite extraordinary. I don't know that I fit into that crowd, but I would absolutely love to try it out. And you see him going into it saying, I fought Thanos. It's just so incredible. And like I thought, I did forget my third item. So we're just going to move right along.
That's okay. It happens.
From there. So let's talk about the new introduction, Miss Hailey Steinfeld.
Yeah.
Hailey Steinfeld. And her ability to just roll up in the MCU and play her part. How do you feel so far about Hailey?
Okay, so I have a confession to make, which is that I'm a massive Hailey Steinfeld stan, have been since True Grit. I think she's an incredible actor. I've loved her in just about everything that she's done, and I think she has just incredible ability. So that being said, you can take this with a grain of salt if you're not in that camp. I love what she's bringing to Kate Bishop so far through the first 2 episodes. Just a great energy, something that feels a little bit different than what we've gotten in the MCU so far. She's got a flair for the sarcastic a little bit. She's almost got a little bit of a Tony Stark type of humor about her in the way that she delivers, which we're obviously missing now. R.I.P. Sweet Prince, Tony Stark. So it's good. I think, when I look forward to things like Young Avengers and things that we've obviously theorized on Spilled Popcorn in the past of things that are coming, I think she's exactly the right person for the job and someone who can do this. And in the first 2 episodes, I feel like she absolutely held her own and showed why she belongs here and what she can bring to the table, which is a ton of energy, really solid acting performance, and fun. She's fun. She's got good delivery, good comedic timing, and there's been some really great back and forth between Clint and Kate Bishop so far in these first couple episodes.
Bro, I found her.
Bro. Oh. Oh wow! Didn't realize we were supposed to bring guns.
That's true. I'm growing in my fandom for Hailey. Her first introduction for me was her music.
Yeah.
And then her next one was Pitch Perfect 2, which that's not really a fair.
It's not fair. It's not fair. Don't trust it.
Of her acting abilities. And I've seen her in a couple other things, and something about her is definitely endearing. And I think that she will grow a little bit more. I don't think we've landed her on her most optimal role yet, but this one might be really close to it because I'm already seeing from episode 1 to 2 them growing her character out from kind of cliche moments, kind of her bag of tricks that she's really good at, to again nuanced, character developed, character specific moments that we see her in. So maybe this is the role that helps reshape her and catapult her to she's already a huge star, but catapult her to kind of and she's already a household name, catapult her to
I don't know that she is. I don't know that she is.
I think she is.
I think it depends on the household. I think it depends. I think the younger generation knows Hailey Steinfeld, but I don't know that everybody does. So I feel like this will make her a household name.
Okay, 1 second. We're gonna call my granddad. We're gonna bring him.
Let's interview him.
And granddad, you're on the line. I wish we could do that.
What?
We can't do that yet, but someday soon. Okay, I feel that. Yeah, so I think that definitely, like you said, their chemistry already is pretty cool because they both live in this kind of sarcastic world. Like, can't believe this is happening to me. Let's figure it out. Let's move forward.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. One of the other big highlights of the butter that I want to talk about is this ongoing villain that's kind of look over your shoulder and they're suddenly there, that I hope remains in the MCU for decades to come. And that is the tracksuit mafia.
Yes, sir.
This is incredible. So in episode 1, near the end of it, we suddenly find that the Ronin suit has been stolen and is suddenly on in the move. Hailey Steinfeld dons it and she is out there fighting crime, and the tracksuit mafia, who has tangoed with the real Ronin, and if you remember, it's when Hawkeye, during the blip, he just lost his mind and he's like, I'm going to take down everyone.
Yeah,
I'm going to take just every bad crew. They will die at the hand of my sword. And he's got this super sick retractable sword, and we only get a glimpse of that in the MCU and Infinity War and even in Endgame, but that's the suit of chaos that was reigned. And the tracksuit mafia apparently is someone that he crossed, and these goons they're somewhat scary because there's a lot of them and they're big, but they're mostly hilarious. They are just traditional henchmen. I love them. What are your thoughts on the tracksuit mafia?
Yeah, so I had some pre-existing knowledge of the tracksuit mafia from the Matt Fraction, David Aja comics, the Hawkeye comics from 2012, that run, with the purple, this sort of imagery that we're seeing in the opening sequence and stuff like that of this show. And they're prevalent in that, and also, pretty funny just because, they're called the tracksuit mafia and the way that they interact with each other is funny, but it's fun. Let's bring some levity to the villains. It's not something we do all the time in the MCU. I think we did it with the Skrulls a little bit. They sort of walk the line between good and evil, the Skrulls. They sort of dance to the beat of their own drum in a way, but it's fun and it's a good time, but they maintain their threateningness, especially towards the end, where even while they're cracking jokes, it's like towards the end of episode 2, it's like, well, Kate and Clint are obviously in a very compromising position with these guys, whether they're cracking jokes or not. So I like it a lot.
Beautiful. I kind of want to go. I know that Halloween is 2022 is far away, but can I just go as one of those guys for Halloween?
Yeah, for sure. It'll still be topical.
They might confuse me with like Jason Sudeikis from SNL.
Yeah, it reminds me of, if you've watched Barry.
Yes.
What are they? Are they Slovenian?
Oh no, what are they?
The mafia.
Yeah,
some sort of Eastern European, and it's just like those guys. Like the banter is similar, and the outfits are similar. It's very funny.
Yes, it's fantastic. I think then the last thing I want to talk about is really briefly Ronin's return, because we get this super sick glimpse of him again in the MCU, and we get even the flashback to remind us of who Ronin is. It's Jeremy Renner. It is Hawkeye. It's Clint Barton. And do we think that in this series, because we're here at the front of it, there's only 6 episodes, do we think we could get a partial or even full flashback episode to Ronin?
Yeah, I think that's coming. I don't know that we will get a full episode just because of the nature of the show and the fact that it's 6-hour-long episodes. But I do think there are more Ronin flashbacks to come because I think, in general, that's what this is about in a way. Of course, there is this passing of the torch that's going on. Everyone's sort of expecting Jeremy Renner to sort of ride off into the sunset as Hawkeye with his family after the events of this, I think. And, Kate Bishop to take up the mantle as the greatest archer in the world. But it's also about Clint answering for the way that he reacted during the blip and the 5 years there and having to clean up his mess for Ronin. And it's something that his wife obviously understands and he understands and he's a little bit annoyed by it, but it's there. So, yeah, I think we need to see more. And I think that it's necessary too, when you talk about reconciling his feelings about Nat, which they really have only briefly scratched the surface of in the first 2 episodes. I feel like they have a lot of ground to cover there. But yeah, I want more Ronin. I think that will make a lot of sense. And I think that, yes, we will get more flashbacks and hopefully bring some things into focus there.
Dude, speaking of his family, shout out Linda Cardellini, who again
will be in
every single franchise before she dies.
And yet she brings something to the table every time. That's what I love.
Yes, she's an incredible actor. And what we find in this is that she's also maybe the most understanding person on the face of the planet. He's like, hey, I don't know. I'm really trying to be home for Christmas. And she's like, well, if you make it, you make it. But you could try this flight. If you don't, I understand. You're saving the world. No big deal.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Just don't die is basically what she's like. She's like, just, be careful. It's
Yes. So, I mean, just bravo all around, Linda Cardellini. Well, I know when they reunite and they better reunite. Like if they decide to, end Hawkeye and Clint Barton.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a possibility.
They
obviously.
Can't, Kirk. They can't. They cannot.
Who knows? 6 episodes. Episode 6. Who knows?
If they kill him, I think there will be mass outrage.
There might be. If
ever there was a character in this series that you need to let ride off into the Tuscan sunset, it has to be Hawkeye. It has to be.
Yeah, he needs to go off on a beach and just or Dexter it up and live in the snow.
Like they teed us up for the Tony death 1,000 times. It was obvious that he was that he was dying at a certain point. You're like, okay, he's tried to die multiple times and didn't. Hawkeye has done nothing but try not to die. He's got his family. Everybody's trying to save this dude. You got Quicksilver, Nat, they do not want him to die. They can't have him die. He can't die. I can't allow it. It can't happen.
So then that means who's going to be the final sacrifice where he's like, I can't let anyone die for me anymore.
I don't know.
Hailey Steinfeld. No, just kidding.
They introduce her and kill her in the first 6 episodes.
Tragic. She's like, sorry, I've got a big deal with DC. Got to kill me off.
Yeah.
Let's get into the crumbs real briefly. I only have a couple, and then I want to open the floor. And by couple, I mean one. And then I want to open the floor because I know Cam is just ready. He's ready to hop on that mic and drop some sick notes from comic lore.
Let's do it.
First one we haven't talked about it, is basically Hailey Steinfeld.
Hailey Steinfeld, yes.
She has a mother who is Vera, and I can never say her last name. Vera Farmiga.
I don't know.
You've seen her in The Departed as probably my favorite role of hers, but then in dozens of other fantastic films. And her mother is this lead tech billionaire who is into the cybersecurity and security networks and all of these things. And she has a new boo, and his name is Tony Dalton. And you might recognize him from Better Call Saul as Lalo Salamanca. He is a freaky guy, very horrifying. And of course, he's up to no good, and Hailey Steinfeld just sniffs that out right away. You see them have this fencing match, if you will, in the lobby of their apartment that her and her mother live in, and Hailey knows that he is up to no good. So what is he hiding? Cam? Do we know more about this character? Who is he?
So yes, Jack. He's swordsman. He's a villain from older Hawkeye, from Hawkeye's past. So it remains to be, obviously Jack and Clint have not crossed paths yet. So it remains to be seen if that is the case in this era. There are lots of things that they do where they give a character a name and likeness, but they have a different backstory than what they have in the comics. I mean, that's super popular in the MCU. It's something that they do a lot. So we don't know if he's going to end up knowing Clint or if he's just going to have this relationship with Hailey, but he's a bad dude. He's a bad mamma jamma. He's, he does have sword skills. His character's name was the Swordsman, and he's formidable for sure. So he could be our biggest bad in this series. But, the other thing, you mentioned Vera. She bad. She's
bad?
I'm just theorizing because first of all, Vera, scary person. She can play a scary person very well. Yes. She has on many occasions, but also in the comics, she dies, but then turns out, nope, she's not dead. She's actually working against her own daughter.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, we'll see. I mean, there's definitely vibes, right, Kirk, in these first 2 episodes? Like, there's definitely vibes.
Yeah, she's always like in dim lighting. She's always wearing like this, not like bright passion red, but like blood red, wine red in all of her scenes. Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, there's vibes. And I think that will come to full fruition because they sort of had, they had Kate's dad die during the Battle of New York. And that doesn't happen in the comics. And her mom does die in the comics, but then actually isn't dead. And so I don't know how that will come to full fruition. If she's been working with Jack all along, if they have this master plan, who knows? I do think that, what's his name? Armand, the guy who ends up getting it, presumably being killed by Jack via sword. That whole exchange almost makes me feel like she's already involved in things because they had that conversation and then he turned up dead and it was obviously not her who killed him, but probably Jack. So yeah, there's major bad guy vibes going on from both of those two.
And I like that. I liked knowing that she turns on her own daughter because then that would lead me to believe that, as far as star power goes, leading into the Young Avengers,
yeah,
I would assume that Hailey Steinfeld's at the top of that list. And so if she could turn into the big bad, like continued bad, maybe she dies in this series and then gets resurrected and whatever that looks like. So, okay, I'm on for this. I'm on.
Yeah, and there's always the possibility that Julie LouisDreyfus swoops in at the end of this series and says, "Hey, join my team of kind of bad people." Depending on how it ends. So we'll see. There's a lot of options on the table for our 2 villains, and there's room for more villains. I mean, we got the tracksuit mafia, we got mystery person at the end of the 2nd episode, which we'll get into.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot. It's a full house right now.
Full house. Everywhere you look. The floor is yours, Cam. What do you want to talk about?
Well, we'll start there since you brought up Full House, which for fans will remember takes place in San Francisco. Let's talk West Coast. Let's talk West Coast Avengers, Kirk. It's been something that we've brought up a few times, a lot during WandaVision because Scarlet Witch is a big part of the West Coast Avengers setup. The whole Scarlet Witch Vision situation. A lot of what happens in WandaVision happens in the comics during a West Coast Avengers run. There's been other nods to it. There's a fun. These first 2 episodes are chock full of all kinds of comic Easter eggs. Lots of stuff that's like, they gave this character this name, which in the comics is this person. Like little nods here and there. But a few juicy things are the apartment that she buzzes into, where she needs to find a place to go. It's like, what does she say? It's her aunt or something like that, or somebody who's in Florida. That one of the names on there, or the name on the apartment is Moira Brandon, who is a super wealthy person in the comics who ends up being heavily involved in the West Coast Avengers getting set up, like houses them and at some point is involved with Hawkeye, like saves his life and is involved in multiple plot lines, like just a normal rich person, but is involved in the West Coast Avengers. So it's possible that if that faction gets spun up, that Aunt Moira helps bankroll that a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. It could, again, it could just be one of those things that's a nod, but if you've listened to our other recaps of Spilled Popcorn, you've heard West Coast Avengers on more than one occasion. So that's something to call out. I think the other thing, end of episode 2, cliffhanger, we get Echo, which is Maya Lopez, and played by Aliqua Cox, who, and that's the reason that I recognize it because I've seen her picture. I'm like, oh, that's Echo. I have not read Echo comics before, but I know of her. And here's something, Kirk, I'm going to drop. It might blow your mind a little bit.
Okay.
We're talking timelines here. So Hawkeye, at pretty much every turn of all the release date shuffling, has always been set to come out around Spider-Man No Way Home. The last episode of Hawkeye is set to come out the 5 days after, or 3 days after, or something like that.
5, yep. December 17th is No Way Home.
Yes.
The 22nd is the final episode of Hawkeye.
Right. So 5 days after No Way Home comes out. Why does that matter? Well, Echo, who is at the end of episode 2, who does, there's obviously a show coming out about Echo on Disney Plus, for those of you that have heard. She is a deaf superhero, and she is related to Kingpin. She's related to Kingpin, one of the biggest bads in Marvel lore, one of the most grounded bads as well. He's a Spider-Man villain. He's a villain of the Defenders. He's a villain of all kinds of people. He's one of these fan favorites. And, the reason that matters is that the fact that it comes out, the last episode comes out after No Way Home, it's heavily rumored that Matt Murdock, played by Charlie Cox, will appear in Spider-Man No Way Home. So then you would think they would feel comfortable at the end of this series bringing back Vincent D'Onofrio.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio, yeah, as Kingpin from the Netflix series. I'm 90% sure that's happening now. I really am. It just lines up too well, doesn't it?
The implication of that is huge.
Yes.
Because if you haven't watched the Daredevil series that came out of Netflix, who are you?
I know you got to watch it.
What are you? Why are you the way that you are? Because it's absolutely incredible. Season 2 gets a little bit dry, but really, like, they destroy it at the end of season 2, and definitely season 3 is just a ride. It's so good. So Vincent D'Onofrio is one of the reasons why, because that relationship that he has with Charlie Cox as Daredevil is just incredible. So if we get him back here into the MCU where he belongs, where Charlie Cox belongs, and then you get this fantastic version of Echo, this is gonna be great. Tell me more about Echo. I don't know a whole lot about Echo. It's superhero related to Kingpin. What can she do?
I don't know much about Echo, to be honest with you. I don't really know what her story is as a hero, because I haven't read any of it, and I feel like most of it's recent. But should be interesting. I think that she, again, is a pretty grounded hero. I think, a la Daredevil, Kate Bishop type thing. So she definitely fits in this world. But yeah, I think she, right now she is at odds with our heroes right now, but she has, like, in the same way that Daredevil has, the ability to, like, see things, like his disability gives him heightened senses. There is a similar thing going on with Echo, where like Echo is able to react to things that are happening at a level that other people can't, because of the way that she's able to sort of see things coming by hearing things. So she uses, because she doesn't have her ears, her eyes. So it's like it's almost the exact opposite of Daredevil in a way, where, like, because her ears don't work at the way that they're supposed to, right? She has heightened senses with her eyes and can pick up things before they happen. So it gives her, like, this foresight in a way. But yeah, she's athletic. She can fight. That's basically all I know. But as far as, like, a character, I don't really know what she's about. I think, knowing that she has relation to Kingpin, you obviously think, she's obviously tangling with the tracksuit mafia at the moment. So she's got a mean streak in her, but I would assume that if she's getting her own show, she ends up being on the side of the good guys at some point. So we'll see. I'll have to, no doubt I want to read some Echo comics ahead of that show, but this is speeding up that timeline for me. So I want to get into it.
This is nuts because I don't see her having any other credits. No other credits on her IMDb page. So
yeah, I think she's one of the young people that Marvel sort of plucked. They did auditions and sort of found her in the same way that they did with Iman, who's playing Miss Marvel. So
yeah, so bravo to you, because holy cow. That's incredible. Like, oh, by the way, you're going to be in one of the biggest franchises in the history
have your own
film.
show. Yeah, exactly. Huge.
Yeah, so
huge
she's
deal.
got to be an absolute baller. So thank you for gracing the screen, Alaqua Cox. So that's fantastic. What else you got? Anything else before we go?
One last thing is this watch. So there's this auction, right? There's this this auction of like, what do they say? There's like things from the wreckage of Avengers Tower or something like that, or the wreckage of Avengers Mansion, because it's post Endgame. So the Avengers, compound gets destroyed and they're auctioning off all this stuff. So a lot of it's the Ronin stuff, the Ronin suit, the Ronin sword. That's why all these parties are coming together. But there's also this watch. There's this watch that they're talking about, and it comes up in both episodes, the watch, and it has to be something significant. So the question is, whose is it? You start to spin your wheels about, like who wears a watch. It's somebody probably like Tony, you would think. And if so, probably has some sort of powers to it, has some sort of, it's probably not an ordinary watch. So I've just got my eye on that. I have no idea what's to come of it, but that's just me sort of reading the tea leaves and trying to connect the dots there. I think that watch has to have something to do with Tony and has to have something in it that will be relevant going forward.
Yeah, it's probably, I think I cracked the code here. I think it's the Apple Watch 8, which has not come out yet. I think that's what they're just trying to do here. It's pure product placement.
Yeah, I like it.
That's exactly how Marvel rolls. And
watch, it's just like Bruce Banner's watch. It popped off of his arm when he was the Hulk, and he's just like, yes. Sorry, I was looking for that.
It's a total red herring. He just like plucks on like, thanks guys.
Thanks for that.
He checks it. We get like a 3-minute scene of him like recalibrating what time it is, like looking at the stove.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be great. But that's really all I got. I think the other thing, I want more about Nat. I want more about the Clint-Nat relationship and how he's feeling about the way things went down, because that had to be horrific for him, obviously. And he's had some time, right? Because there was a funeral, and so I don't know what's going on there. And
can we finally get a real Budapest scene? Finally a real one, and not like a.
We're not going to. I think they feel like they get. I think they feel like they scratched that itch with Black Widow, but I'm with you. I don't think they did.
No, there's so much more to play with there. So much more.
I know. It's one of those things that you look back on and you're like, they built this relationship, and there was so much more there that just never got tapped into. It's like, if only this could have gotten bigger faster, so that they could have been doing these shows, or you know what I mean? Like something like that, because it was needed, and it feels like we're not going to get it now. So
it was. Well, beautiful. Well, this has been quite the ride, quite the old mark on the target, and I think we nailed it with our arrows.
One might even call it a bullseye, Kirk.
Oh, he said it. I wasn't going to do it, but thank goodness I have Cam Wiggs here. Guys, that's him. I'm Kirk. We are so excited to go on this journey of Hawkeye. That was episode 1 and 2 recap. We're looking forward to episode 3 dropping very soon. Also, there's going to be a bonus surprise episode of Spilled Popcorn. You'll have to tune in and subscribe and to make sure you listen to it on wherever you get your podcasts. We're going to play you out with our brother-in-law and expert musician and his buddy with the band Rhetoric. As we leave you We will see you next time on Spilled Popcorn.
Peace.